Sheridan,
What?
I've never experienced whiplash personally, but I'm pretty sure that what I experienced in this book emotionally was quite similar to physical whiplash.
Agreed. This book really puts you like through it back and forth. And also just, I don't think we've read a book for so long where I wrote down what the so many times. Like multiple points, I was like, did I read what I thought I read? Did I just read that?
I literally, at the end, I finished it. I sat there just like mouth open, sitting alone. Then I was like, I'm going to reread that. I reread the ending. Then I haven't stopped thinking about it. I was sitting with my husband the other day, who obviously hasn't read this. I had to give him an entire summary of the book just so I could tell him about the ending and just be like, sit with that.
Oh my God. Okay. Also, I may say this and I may get some hate about this. Personally, I have not disliked a male lead as much as this male lead in a very long time.
Oh my God, you hate him?
I kind of do.
Okay.
I kind of do.
Okay. Let's maybe we let people know who we are.
Important and what we're talking about.
Right. And then we'll go from there. Okay. So
Beautiful.
I'm Jordan.
And I'm Sheridan.
And together we're Sippin on Spice podcast.
And we treat these like a girls' night. So once a week, Jordan and I get together and we talk about a book that we've recently read. Now, a lot of unhinged thoughts typically come out, so you might want to grab a beverage for this.
Yes. We're going to rate everything on a star scale as well as a penne scale instead of a spice, because if you can picture a penne pasta, you can picture why. Absolutely.
Yes. And we're going to be talking today about The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee.
Oh my God. Okay. Yes. I'm gonna take a swing at summarizing.
Okay. Beautiful. I'm ready for this because you told me.
Yes. Try so hard.
Please. How did you describe this to your husband? Give me that treatment.
Okay. So we are in a world of fae, which they don't really tell you for a little bit. I thought that was interesting. I thought we were in like a human magic world, but a little bit into it, you do learn that they're fae. So they are fae. There is the female lead is the daughter of the king of the main kingdom, but there is a heavy rebellion going on. Mm-hmm. So there is what they call another kingdom that is veiled, if you will.
It's hidden.
One might describe it as a veiled kingdom.
Right.
This is where the rebels live. So the main kingdom does not know where this is. They've been looking for them forever. They are viciously at war. It didn't seem like there was a true opposition in the rebellion until the rebellion army actually did a raid on the castle. So we find out that very recently the rebel army was able to invade the castle. In that time, our female lead chose to run because she was, as we start to kind of find out, trapped in this castle by her father. She is powerless, which is absolutely unheard of. She was essentially a shame as an heir. Her mother was put to have another child in childbirth. He immediately gets another wife, beats his daughter into trying to figure out this training, right? So she runs away and she's living on the streets. She has one of the other homeless people create a fake rebellion mark on her because she plans to run before what the king does called a tithe. So her father has a tithe where people all from the kingdom have to come and submit magic, it sounds like, to him, which is the big source of his power. So he requires these tithes. If you cannot pay it, he'll you.
Right.
This is a very brutal kind of world that we're living
in. It is.
So in this whole right before the tithe, the princess is trying to run away. She ends up getting captured by her father's guards, is in the prison, and ends up with the rebel leader's daughter in the prison cell next to her.
Yes.
She shows her rebellion scar.
And from there on out, she meets the male lead, would you say Dacker or Dacre?
Dacker is how I read it in
Dacker.
my head.
Okay, same. So she meets Dacker, who, as you said, she was in the cell with his sister, who she kind of builds a friendship with. That is going to be our romantic male lead for the rest of the book, the lead that I called out at the beginning of this episode that I don't know how I feel about him. And basically, as a part of the synopsis, we see their relationship through him trying to train her. He does not trust her one bit. Like, there's no trust.
Which makes sense, right? She knows she's not trustworthy. This is not a him being mean to her unnecessarily. Listen, the vibes are correct between these two. But they definitely have a lot more of that chemistry. I wouldn't say insta-love at all, but
lust.
think that, yeah, a lot of lust that grows over time. They kind of end up fooling around. And then the father finds out who the princess is. He tells his son to go get this chick and
hunt her.
And it's bring her to him. And this is where we get into the controversial ending, which...
Do we want to do the ending now, or do we want to go to some points at the beginning of the book?
Let's dive into it from here. Let's save the ending for the ending, because there will be too much to unpack there.
Okay, I am so down. So my number one point that I wrote down actually is that she was Aladdin. She reminded me of Aladdin. Like, she's just living in these markets.
Except for she wasn't really Prince Ali. Prince Ali wasn't real.
There was no Prince Ali, but there was a princess that was on the run. But I was like, she's literally Aladdin. So I also wrote down that, like, halfway through the book, I'm like, they're Fae. No, she's Aladdin. Like, this is where I thought we were going.
No, this is Patrick.
Exactly. But no, they are Fae. They are indeed Fae that we find out. Okay.
I feel like they didn't tell us that till at least 30% of the book. So I was just like, wait, what?
Exactly. Like, I guess. And they don't describe really anything other than the conflict. The female lead and the male lead, both of their mothers have passed. Yeah.
I assume it impacts lifespan, at least.
It must. I guess they all have powers. She doesn't, but they all have powers. So that must be tied to being Fae.
She discovers towards the end, which is interesting. I actually am interested to see what they do with that, because it seems to unlock around him, but in specific, like by the water. So I anticipate she's going to have some sort of water element.
Yes. Ooh, that would be really cool. I was excited for her to get her powers.
I was too. It was kind of sad because it's like, okay, here's the thing is, what I enjoyed about this enemies to lovers kind of thing they did is I did feel like they were genuine enemies, minus the lust. Like, I thought that they were like frenemies.
Basically.
But I also felt like it wasn't one of those times where you read why they're enemies and feel like, grow up, get over it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where you're just like, talk it out. Like, they really couldn't talk it out. And I thought, he had very realistic reasons to act the way he did, and she had very realistic reasons to act the way she did. So it was like, it was such a juicy kind of thing where you're just like, fuck it, kind of right.
I have a question, because after learning they were Fae, do you think in the second book we're going to go into, as a prediction, they're like fated mates? Like, they're Fae mates, because he keeps talking about this pull to her, this at least sexual attraction to her, even during this time of like lack of trust. They're very drawn to each other, almost immediately attracted to each other from like my perspective of reading it. So I'm wondering, are we going to go into a Fae fated mate in the next book?
It's interesting that you said that, and I'm going to avoid saying my statement until later, because I don't want to give a spoiler for anything else, but
okay, so we'll come back to that.
Yes. But I think that is possible. I guess I didn't lean so much on fated mate yet, just because I didn't, but it is interesting. It's hard because I think the main pull for me for them is that power. Her unlocking the power, why she unlocked it when she locked it with him, and then saying when it came back, it buzzed around him and she couldn't summon it. That's more what I'm interested in. And maybe that is a fated mate thing, but there's something, I guess that's the only thing that makes me feel they have some form of a bond. That's what I feel like the connection is. Yeah. And I don't know how, and I really hope it's not like a charge you up situation. Yeah. if you know what I'm alluding
yes,
to.
I do know what you're alluding to. Yes, I do know what you're alluding to. Yeah, I hope not. I think it'd be really cool if we see that they are bonded and that her power is emphasized around him. Or I am interested. Want to see where that is explored. I do want to circle back to something that you said that I had as a response, where they do have reasons to be enemies. They do. One of my like third or fourth, I want to make sure that I encapsulate what I wrote down when I did this. That I wrote down, and I was like, I'm enjoying this book, but he's kind of an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, he was.
The
scene he does when he is drunk deserved at least 4 punches to the face.
I was so upset when I read that because she was humiliated.
Yeah.
She was humiliated.
Well, no, I didn't think she was humiliated. I actually thought he was.
I think she was humiliated.
I just felt like he looked like and she looked like she handled the situation. I actually didn't. I thought that the way that played out made him look really bad. The only time I thought he truly made her look bad was in front of, I forget that guy's name, Aaron. Mm-hmm. In front of Aaron, he makes the comment of like, when you were in my bed last night. Mm-hmm. That's when I was like, oh, you little stick.
Yeah. Right? And, I felt, because I was just like, if that was real life, like let's say that was you or a friend, and the dude that she was like sexy enemies to lovers with, if that ever existed in the real world, something like that. And they go off when they're drunk about all these things, and you would be like, how dare you speak about my friend like that in front of everyone?
100%. There were so many, but again, it was like I said, you sat there and you couldn't say, oh, you could just talk this out.
True. Because what would they?
Are ready to talk about.
They're not. I hope we get
clearly.
I hope we get some more communication in book 2 about it, though. Like I mean, we gotta.
Okay, so I thought it was interesting too that at the beginning of the book, like when they're in the prison and he goes to get his sister out, Dacker goes to get his sister out. I thought it was interesting that like the sister's like, no, she's a part of the rebel army.
Yes.
Like, let's go. Yes. And he was like, I don't give a shit. What? You just don't give a shit about your other like army members, or what do I call them? Rebellion members. Like he was just like, that loser's stuck here. Like, you're already there. The cells are already open. Like, what inconvenience is it to take your own people home?
Valid point. And also because we go on to explain that he's like in training to be the next commander of the rebellion. Like, you would think he would just be like, yeah, I want to save my own people. But he also calls out at that time, he recognizes her from somewhere.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. And I honestly thought right away he knew who she was. So I was like, oh shit. So like my first thing was, oh my God, he knows who she is. And I thought like he was slowly just like kidnapping her kind of thing.
Ooh.
Like that's where I thought we were starting out with. And I was like, oh, he's going to straight up just throw her in a jail cell. And I thought they'd fall in love through like her usefulness or something. But
interesting.
It was really, honestly, it's really ballsy of the rebellion just to accept people the way they did and just put them to work and let them in there. Like, what?
Exactly, being like, okay, here's I'm gonna believe who you say you are. Here you go.
Like honestly, like with as much as he did as an enemy, like they were also very giving.
They were
when his dad tried to kill her.
Oh my God. And then to me, it was traumatizing to read that his dad strangled her because she makes a point in that chapter to say his face looked too similar to Dacker's. So I was like,
I didn't even think of that.
Yes. So I was like, how traumatizing for Nira, our female lead, if that's how you also pronounce it.
It's not her name. It was like
Vesna.
Vector. I don't know.
Oh, that would be a
Vecna. It was Vecna, wasn't it?
Vecna from Stranger Things is parading and masquerading as the princess of the Veiled Kingdom. Full circle. One of the funniest things I've ever heard.
This is the upside down.
That's
the Veiled Kingdom.
They were underground, and it was the Veiled Kingdom.
A lot of good facts here. A lot of good crossovers.
Guys, we just spoiled all of book 2.
I officially know what's going to happen at the end of this.
Exactly.
There's going to be one sick Metallica song.
We just need to run. We just need to keep, because she needs to, well, no, she's Vecna. He needs to run.
He needs to run.
Okay.
One of the first notes I have is when he said he was the leader of the Warriors when they get separated, and she's like, "Well, who leads the Warriors?" And he was like, "Me."
Oh yes,
Like,
it was so like it was so
yeah, it was like a squee moment. It was like,
right, exactly. I love it. I love that. I wrote down again, like
my army.
Basically, yeah. He's like, there's so many times he did that. Is smug a good word?
Yes.
Smug. Okay.
It was very like, I'll have you under me in more than one.
That's so funny. It's multiple double entendres.
Okay. Now, you know what this enemies to lovers vibe reminded me of?
What?
Okay, can you think of, let's play a game. Can you think of the couple I'm thinking of that they immediately remind me of?
Enemies to lovers immediately reminded you of?
Yeah.
I have a question. Did I like the couple that you're reminded of?
Oh, you do.
I do.
Oh, you love them.
It's not Poppy and Castillo.
They are Tori and Darius.
They are.
Every parallel is there. You hate him the same way right now.
Yep.
I'm telling you, book 3. This is what I'm saying. It's like, it's so hard because I'm going to say so many things about Dacker, but I guarantee you this by the end of this series,
we may love him. He needs to redeem himself. He needs to
redeem himself. But this is what I'm saying. Like when people say, "Oh, I want enemies to lovers, but I don't want like fake enemies," right? This is enemies to,
this is it.
To frenemies with benefits to enemies.
This is, yeah. Oh, I also wrote down what I thought of. He is possessive as like when we read in Crescent City or even Silver Flames, when they talk about possessive fae males, because again, they're fae, being super possessive, I was like, this is textbook possessive.
Yeah.
He is possessive.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's almost like everything about it reminds me of that Tori Darius dynamic from Zodiac Academy.
I can see that.
It starts out very bully romance. That's how I'm feeling about this. It's almost like I like you, so I'm going to pull your hair kind of energy.
I completely agree with you.
But again, there are deep-rooted issues. I think that this has a lot of potential to have a great comeback story, to have a good redemption arc and kind of next process, but it's
they're better. They're better. They're better. I may sit here in this chair if we talk about book 2 and book 3 and say, I am sorry, I was wrong. I love Dacker at that point. Highly likely. At this moment in time, like I said, I have not struggled with the male lead in so long. And it's so funny that you say Tori and
Darius.
Yes, Darius, because they're very similar. And I said that about Darius from the beginning.
You hate it. And that's the point, though. Is like, that's what I'm saying. Is like, that's what kind of invigorated me about this book in a way that I felt like, okay, loved Fourth Wing, right? 10 out of 10.
Yes.
But it does give kind of instant love in its own way, or at least the enemies are not truly, in my opinion, enemies.
These are more enemies.
Yes, it is the first book I've read in a long time where it borders that dark romance. It's not dark romance, but it borders with how morally gray and how actual anger is involved. If that makes
totally.
Sense.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And with that, when you add in that morally gray and that anger, and then you add in all their tension, a lot of the times my jaw literally dropped while reading some of the things he says to her. And I was like, I don't even know if we could say it on the podcast. I was just like,
scene?
Exactly. And she's exactly. And she makes a point multiple times to say she's never been touched by anyone. This is her first experience of everything. And we go straight to like crawling.
And it's interesting too, because she likes it. Like, it's almost like she kind of plays it. The way she talks about it is almost like he senses
that she likes that.
Yeah. Like it's almost like they have this very specific tension between them. And that crawl is hard for me.
Can you imagine if you were asked to do that?
It's hard because it's like, it's not my thing. that doesn't
Exactly.
mean, so you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's hard to say because it's like, but you can appreciate how hot the
Yes.
moment is. You
Totally.
can appreciate like what's happening. But
Totally.
from a shock perspective, it was like
Shocked.
a full Pikachu. It was like 3 Pikachu shocks. It was like,
Absolute same page. I was completely shooketh. I was like, he said what? And again, no shame on any of that. Like, and you can appreciate how hot the moment was. And
Yeah.
she's for it. She wants, like, she
Yeah.
likes it. But I
which
was
makes
just
it
like,
fine, right? Because
Exactly.
she wants it.
she wants it. But I was like, shooketh. Another one. I don't even know how to repeat this, but I was
Oh my God, I'm
so shocked.
excited.
They
Stop
were
dirty to me
arguing.
right now.
I know. They were arguing, and he was like, no, if I wanted to, basically, I would put my penne pasta, that's how I'm going to say that,
Where it
in your
goes.
mouth. Yeah, or something to make you shut up. Let's
It
just,
was.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's
Pikachu
a
shock.
slight dark like it's definitely
Yes.
like a dirty talking
Yes.
style spice.
Yes. Agreed.
It might not be something like I would be, but it's like when you read it and like the vibes are like that, you're like, okay.
Exactly. You're like, all right, it works
It's like a
for them.
popcorn moment. Like, get it, let's.
I think what's really important to say here at this time, it is very clear she likes it. She's
Yeah.
down for everything he says and does.
It's all about clear consent.
Absolutely.
Like I said, if the vibes did not match that, you'd be like, this guy.
You'd be like, this is very different. This is an extremely different scenario.
Then it would be a dark romance.
It would be a very dark romance. I literally gobsmacked, shocked at some of these scenes I was reading. I was like, excuse me, what? And I also think recently we read a few. Excuse me, sir? But we've also read a few YA books recently.
Yeah,
So
this was such like, it was like going from 0.5 spice to just like diving into the penne pasta pool.
right. And like you said, dirty talk, or like a little bit more like not even the penne pasta pool. We're getting a little freaky penne pastas in there.
Yeah,
too.
it's more like foul mouthed, like not vanilla.
Not vanilla penne pasta.
No.
But, and then, do we want to talk about the ending at this point or not yet? Because I have a lot to say on the topic of not vanilla penne pasta and the ending.
Okay.
I have a lot there.
Okay. One of the things I do want to call out is we got the Who Did This to You.
We did. Oh, we did. We did.
We are on a toll right now of Who Did This to You, okay?
We are.
The last several books we've had have all hit the hard Who Did This to You. And every single time I'm like, oh,
And I loved it in this book. Actually, I think that's one of the things he did really well when he sees that the Who Did This to You, he put some weight behind that.
Yes, and what I see, this is what I loved about his version of possessive, though, is because it was like, it was negative in a lot of ways.
It was.
But in a lot of ways, like he hates her, but he's instantly giving her the "you're mine" treatment while also still hating her. And I think that's also what I love, because it's like, okay, you and I talk about this sometimes, like how we get down to the end of a male lead and we'll be like, okay, but I just got bummed that when he was talking about her, he was talking about how he didn't notice her or she was nothing. Or you know what I mean?
Yes.
This is like he's giving us the baseline for doing like some of those things while still being.
Yes, and you do enjoy the bully romances a little more than I do.
I'm shocked, honestly.
Yes. So I feel like, because I wrote down, I was honestly like, I was cheering her on when she was baiting him with Aaron. I was like, get him where it hurts. Yeah. Like, I was like, yeah, absolutely.
I enjoy the whole dynamic because, like, I think that's another thing we talk about, though, which is like, I like my female leads to be aggressive. So if you're going to give me this kind of possessive male lead, for me to like him and for me to like the relationship, the woman has to have, or the female lead or the whatever, right? The counterpart, I guess, doesn't have to be, because I've read it.
Right.
The counterpart has to be not that sugary, sweet, step on me energy. Okay.
Right.
I want them to fight. I want her to represent my anger on my behalf. And I feel like this female lead is doing it.
She did a great job. I have no issues or concerns. I really liked her as a character. She did a great job. I thought, again, I probably will eat my words and will come back in later books and I'll feel very differently. Right now, I am not Team Decker. I'm like, go be with Micah. Go be with Aaron.
Go
Go
be
be with literally anyone else. But I never disliked her. I think she is very strong in her responses. I loved some of the she gave back to him.
Oh, yeah.
She was like, he's like, be there tomorrow for training. And she was like, I'll be there. I'll be the weak one. Like calling out. I was like, that is hilarious. You go.
Yeah, I thought that, like I said, I think, and I think it's hard when you isolate book one, but I think I just think about longevity of a series when I read them. And I think for me, like knowing that we're not fully given into the relationship yet, right? The enemies are true enemies.
They are.
The negative energy is there. It's just like, I just feel like there's so much like spark that I'm so excited to see like what the flame is.
Oh, yeah. No, me too. And I know, like I said, I can see it. I can see myself later on absolutely loving Dacker because Darius ended up being one of my absolute favorite male leads, but at first I was not a fan. So I do think it's going to be similar trajectory, which is so funny that you called that out. And I do think we're going to get into some interesting things in book 2 with the whole he has to find her hunting aspect because he is already protecting her. Even with his hatred from his dad. Like, he already is. Yeah.
That's why there's so much to break down in the end. And I'm almost there. I've just got one more point before we get there.
Okay, cool.
There is a lot to break down there that I'm so interested. Like, I've been going to talk to you about this.
Okay.
I had nobody to talk to about this except for my husband. Yeah. And I gave that quick answer to. Told him the ending. And he was just like, he just gave me like a quick, like, oh.
I can like hear it too. Like,
and I was like,
you're like, that was.
I'll wait.
Yeah. You're like, that was, no.
Okay. The grandma scene. When she is there and the grandma, as they're leaving, says, stay with my grandson, knows who she is. I was like, oh my God, the grandma's the surreal.
Stay with the High Lord. That's so funny.
Just basically, Which, oh my God, at the end, like his grandma might be dead.
I think, I would be really concerned if I was the grandma for my safety.
I'm deeply worried about the grandma right now.
Which I'll be sad.
But she pretty much surrealed us just now.
She did. She was like, stay. Oh, yes. Which is hilarious. That is really funny.
That means too.
Who knows what that means?
Because the grandma be knowing.
The grandma knows she's the missing princess.
Well, who knows what all the grandma knows? That's what I'm saying. Like the grandma knows.
She does.
But
she knows
shit. What does she know?
What does she know? These are really, and we will find out. Well, we hope she's alive to tell us. But we will find out. That is hilarious that she's the surreal. If she comes back with a black cape on, she's completing her trajectory.
She did serve tea.
She did serve tea. Oh my goodness. I love this. What a cool grandma character. I love this.
Okay. So the surreal, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna call her Grandma Surreal. Okay,
I love this.
Oh yes. Oh, I was gonna give you the lore of Grandma Surreal. That's what it was. So the surreal, right? Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh yes. Right, and then the surreal again reincarnated as the grandma.
Oh.
In the Veiled Kingdom.
Yes, I see this.
You know what I mean? And then he's just going to keep reincarnating the way it makes sense.
It is. Have you seen the theories? That makes perfect sense. I think you found the lore. I think that's book 3. We're going to get an epilogue. And we're going to get an explanation.
I'm just giving you some Holly Renee SJM crossover, okay?
Exactly.
My bad, dude.
Another one is, have you seen the Caltaine from, if you also pronounce that way, from Throne of Glass became the Surreal. And now the Surreal has become the grandma.
Oh my God, I love it.
In the Veiled Kingdom.
Oh my God, there's so many evolutions.
We could write a whole book on the Surreal.
This is fan fiction at its best.
Fan
okay?
fiction. Let's get our work cut out.
Instead of the 7 lives of Evelyn Hugo, it's the 7 lives of the Surreal.
That's amazing.
Or of Caltaine.
Caltaine? Yeah.
What's her last name? Do you remember?
No idea. She doesn't have one.
We'll remember soon.
We'll remember soon.
Okay, so let's go. Let's go.
Go in. I'm ready.
So the grand finale, right? The thing that really took this book from like Pop Rocks to Pop Rocks and Coke, if you will, is the ending. So the dad, the king, tells his son Dacker to go get this woman. She is the lost princess. Bring her to him. he does go and find her. He sleeps with her.
And he takes her virginity, and he knows that she's the
At
princess at
the
the
ending,
time.
while she is in her highest of highs.
In the moment.
The grand finale, okay?
The grand finale.
Says, "For me, princess."
And she's a little shook, but she kind of, and then
says the name she hasn't even shared with us as readers.
Nope, Vecna. But no, yeah, exactly. It's not Vecna, but yes, like.
And then he tells her to run. His father knows, and to run before he's on the hunt
For her.
And she runs.
And she runs. And she's literally like, I think the author did a great job at describing this and writing out this scene, because she's literally, I thought, would do what you would do in your head, or what you would do if you're in that position. She's like, oh, shoot, I am putting clothes on. I am out the door. She doesn't sit there and she's like, let's talk about this. No. There's a misunderstanding. Like, absolutely not. She's like, okay, clothing on.
Thanks for the note.
Go. Exactly. Doesn't even, after taking her.
In all fairness, he didn't know. I will give him that one piece. It does not make it better.
It doesn't make it better. She doesn't tell him it's only been him until like they're in it. And he's already doing what he's doing. Because she then tells him. It out too. Know.
She tries to like.
Right. Back up, and he's like,
oh, you're finishing.
Yeah, like, we're going to go through this really traumatic exchange that's going to be like a WTF moment, but let's actually finish this action. And then he just slams the bathroom door as like the last sentence when he's like, before I have to hunt you. And I just read it so dramatic, which is also so Darius of like.
I had to reread it. Like I said, I read it and I was like, maybe there's what? And I reread it and I was like,
he just did that. He just did that.
So, okay. Wow. I'm going to let you start with how you feel, because I can't verbalize my thoughts yet. I still can't.
Okay. You're like, I don't know how to feel about this. Like I said, he's not one of my favorite male leads yet through the majority of the book. I'm kind of like, I don't like how his possessiveness manifests. I love possessive male leads, so this is even difficult for me to say. I'm not a huge fan of how his possessiveness manifested in a few ways, but I still really enjoyed their relationship. I still enjoyed the book, and yes, I do think it's more, if you like dark romance, you'll probably like this. If you like bullying romances, you're going to like this. But at the ending, I was torn, because a part of me is like, what could he have done? Genuinely. Well, he didn't have to sleep with her, but he already knew. But at that point, he did probably in his mind what he thought was best to do, which is tell her and give her the opportunity to run away. He didn't take her to his dad. He's not putting her in a jail cell, or, you know what I mean? He is giving her the opportunity to run. So what else could he have done to really show that he cares in that moment for us, to us as readers? I think he did the best that he could, but with my issues with him earlier, he should not have slept with her.
So here's, okay. So I thought what he did, I was like, I think I had a hard time moving past just like the whole thought of just, holy shit. Like, and that's really like the whole emotion kind of boxed up for me was holy shit. But then I kept thinking about it and I thought, the words he said specifically when they were having was like, I'm going to ruin everybody else for you, everybody who came before me, right? Because he didn't know yet.
Right.
Tell me you're mine. He says a lot of things that traditionally we see in like the, past second act breakup kind of thing, where it's like that claiming moment. So it was really interesting for me. And to your point, lets her run. What I found so interesting about this is it was almost like he was trying to take a moment he thought he'll never have again. I struggled with that because I really struggled with what he did. Yeah. Mostly because when she tried to like reel back, he
continued what was happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard for me to determine if that's okay.
And then also from her perspective, she's always going to look back again on her first time in it. He's like calling out her secret. That to me is very calculated. and it's like vindictive.
It
And
felt,
I don't
well,
know
no,
about
it felt
that.
like it felt like in a moment of anger passion. Because he
Yeah,
doesn't have time to register what he's going to do. So it isn't really that calculated. It's more
I
that
guess.
he came in there angry because, like, you do read about like hate, anger, right? Frenemies,
True.
right? We do read books like that, and I think it almost came across like the way he processed his anger, and then instead of that step away, kind of seared his burn in the moment,
Yeah, I guess I could see that.
while
Don't
also
love,
giving her a window. That's what I'm saying.
don't
It
love
was
that.
it's not that it's better. It's, you see what I'm saying? I'm really struggling breaking down that moment and digesting how I feel about
Feel
it.
about it. You called out a point that I didn't even really think. Now that you're saying that, I like that moment even less. When you're right, she does try to back away,
Yeah.
and he doubles down on his efforts.
Yeah. And it's like in the final moments too. So it's almost like,
Mm-hmm.
it's weird because it's like in a situation where one is giving pleasure, because like that moment
Yeah.
is the grand finale, so to
Right.
speak, right? I mean, so it's like
Yes.
that's why I struggled with the line, because it's almost like I said, like emotional hate sex.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel like a discard her.
No. Oh
Does that
gosh,
make
no.
sense?
Oh
And
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's the part that I struggle with, is it wasn't like the kind of hate that was like he's not, where he, well, I mean, he fuck.
Right.
It was the kind of hate where it wasn't like he was like, and now get out of here, you're an embarrassment, sort of thing.
No.
It was
No.
more like, said these really interesting things and then says, run for your life.
Basically, and in a way, again, that to me, that's his biggest point of redemption at the end, even though what came just before it is really crummy. And he does let her run, and he makes it clear, in my opinion at least, he is going to go after her. So their relationship and their story is continuing, but he is giving her this chance at safety. So then it's like, this is where maybe
he catches her.
What's he going to do? My hope, my prediction and hope as we get into book 2 is that if he does catch her, let's say, that is where we really start to see him become Darius, where his personality changes and he'll do like anything for her. I need to see that. I
think this next book is going to be a segue book. I've heard it's very short.
Okay.
It just came out. So all I know about it is it's come across like it's kind of short. I think this might be that middle book. I'm assuming this is a trilogy. That's where I see this sitting kind of pretty.
Okay.
Is that a trilogy? I think this is going to be a midway, kind of each on their own growth journey book.
Gotcha, like a connecting book. And then in the end, we're going to get this. He better, in his way, grovel and turn into Darius, where he would do literally everything for her. And that possessiveness gets only protective. Because I hope so.
That's what I see as the potential for this character. Then when I read it, it felt very much like book 1 versus, so I see the potential there, but wow, I have never been, like Tori and Darius hated each other. This is a different kind of hate.
This is up there on the hate. This is a different kind of hate. And also, like I said, it's been a very long time since I kind of disliked a male lead and felt so conflicted, because it's also like I enjoyed reading about them.
Yeah.
So I couldn't put the book down necessarily, but it's also I am conflicted on my feelings.
So I think it's important that we talk about that. Let's go right into it, okay?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
How many stars would you rate this book?
Oh, I think I'm going to make you upset. I think I'm going to make readers upset. I'm going to give it like a 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I felt, oh shoot. I think I felt like 4.5 on it.
Dang. Okay.
Because I care so much. Like, I guess what would I say I didn't like about the book?
Him.
But isn't that the point? You know what I mean?
Oh, yes, that's the point.
You see my point?
Yes,
like there's a different, I guess when I'm looking at it, I already feel like I see the whole picture that we're getting at here.
Got it. Okay.
So it's like, I enjoyed the book. I thought, holy crap, I couldn't put it down. I don't love things he did, and maybe by the end I'll change my mind. But from a book 1 perspective, I was hooked. I cared. Okay. I want to know what's happening right now. I want to know what's happening in the future. Like,
okay. I can see that. I do care. I do need to know what happens. And like I said, I enjoyed the book, but I think from my perspective, I had too many what the in a bad way moments where for
Which is,
me, which is all personal preference, where I was like, oh, it's 3 for me. But I am very interested. I do need to know what happens. I also may shock you on this as well. I wish there had been a little more world building at the beginning.
Interesting.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that. I think especially finding out they were Fae silly, I just think we don't know enough about, but I think that's also kind of the point. Like,
yeah,
we spend majority of the time in her mind, wouldn't you say?
Yes. Oh, I did write this down. I actually love that we do get his POV in book 1. There's no all her POV. We wait later books. We get his book 1. I did enjoy that.
I liked that. I think that we also have to think that we're looking at the world from a very naive perspective. So it's hard, in my opinion. I guess what I question myself with is the reason we didn't get this all out detail of world building because she has no idea.
Probably. Yeah. I would think so. And it does, with the less world building, not to say that there isn't any, but with the less world building, we do get into the plot and the characters very quickly. Right away. So it is easy to read through. It is like you could read this very quickly. It's very entertaining and you want to know what happens. Mm-hmm. So with that too, I think that the author did a great job there.
Agreed. From a penne scale.
Okay.
I'd give this like 3.5.
Yeah. It was dirty. So I think I'd give it like 3.5, 3.75. There's not a lot of instances until later in the book, but the instances that are there are pretty spicy.
Yeah.
Agreed. I felt scandalized.
Like I said, I think it played into dark romance a bit there. I felt like that's very similar with some of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Some of the phrases, some of the kind of scenarios you might see in a darker romance. And I think that's kind of what I liked about it, is it towed the line of being much lighter than a Zodiac Academy.
True.
While still being pretty dark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like a leap out of YA and into a real adult fantasy to lovers romance, I guess.
I would agree.
So I appreciated it for what it was, even though it was darker.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I felt scandalized. And if I put myself in her shoes, I feel that way.
So do you want to read the rest of the series?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I need redemption.
You care about them too.
I do. And I need redemption for him. You
want to see redemption for him.
I do. I do. Like, I need that for the rest of this storyline. Like, I need him to turn from being a pretty big a-hole to he's going to use his a-hole personality, but like defend and protect her. I need this arc. I need this. He would do anything for her. We need to be at book 8 of Darius, basically. I need this trajectory. I need to see him go through this journey.
So I guess what would make you DNF this book as the series goes on?
If we know, in my opinion, if the series goes on, because I had no thoughts of DNFing this book ever. I did not.
Okay.
Like, I was going to finish it through. And I wanted to see what happened. So I did not feel that way. But if he continues to double down past book 2, like we're in book 3 and he's still in, and we don't get more of his POV where he's describing why he has to be in, or we don't get more of where we're going to come full circle on his personality, I will be very disappointed. Because I agree with you. They've really set this up for a trajectory where this could be really great and be like one of our favorite couples, like Tori and Darius. But if not, I'll be disappointed.
That's kind of how I feel too. I think I thought about it and I thought if it gets darker, I might, like, for example, when he gets her, what happens when he acquires her is going to be very important to me.
Yes, he better like put on a front, but then treat her extremely well. There better be no force of anything.
Yeah. Or like, I'm scared of her dad. You know what I mean? Like, I just,
which is
like
also
when he finally because eventually she's going back to his dad.
Yeah.
Okay. We have to deal with this king somehow. This king is either going to get rationalized by his kids, which I really hope so, because it sounds like he was better when the wife was alive. I highly doubt it, based on how far down this trajectory he is. But that means Dacker needs to either what was that word we use? Shape up or
oh yeah. He needs to shape up or drop. That's so funny. I agree. I agree.
Yeah, that's how I feel. So I am nervous for when the dad gets her storyline.
Samesies. And he better be torn up about it. He better be fighting it. He better be Darius level against Lionel. It better not be a...
Also, do you think her dad really knows she doesn't have powers? I think, yeah, right?
I think the dad believes she doesn't.
Because there was a lot of talk about her hiding her powers, and that was why they were hiding her. I guess my gut is telling me that when we're talking about her powers suddenly showing up, being triggered by Dagger, right? I'm wondering if there's a lock on her of some sort of magic containing it, why that magic would contain it, especially when the mother died bearing another child. You see what I'm saying? I think that might be a little... That's my prediction for the future, is that that's a nugget for something. She didn't just suddenly have her powers be like, you know what? It's been kind of hard being you.
Yeah, because she was basically to get them to show up by her own dad. So that's a really valid point. Like, what I could see it being a unlock situation. I can also see it being a fated mate situation, like a bond of some kind.
Oh,
and that's
like
why
her powers waken through a bond because it can feel him.
Yep, exactly. Like, I could see it going that way
too. I could see that too.
Especially
it's gotta be water, right? Because they have
water,
I
think so. Like water and the ability to shape it, move things with it.
Well, I think that we really summarized this book. I am very interested in Hunted Heir. That's book 2. I would be interested in moving on. I hear it's a little bit shorter, so I'm interested to see if we could do a full episode on it and how much time. I think it's like a 200 pager. I think it's like a novella size.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm not sure. So I think we'll see what we end up doing with that. But I'm definitely invested in this story and want to have some answers.
Same. I'm really interested to hear where the story goes. Excited to get to book 2 and know what the journey that they're going to go on.
Absolutely. You heard it here first through the grapevine. If you like what you heard, you can join us every Wednesday wherever you stream and on YouTube. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Sippin on Spice Podcast. We post additional content, post exactly what books we're reading next as a teaser for what's coming up. We will be starting a Throne of Glass reread. We have posted that reading order online on our TikTok and Instagram. And we're going to be doing a new episode every other week with Throne of Glass, while also pushing through on some of our other TBR. So if you want to read along, October 9th will be Throne of Glass.
Yes, absolutely. And we've also launched a recap format videos on YouTube where if a new book released and you just want to remember or know if you didn't read before what happens in the previous books, book recaps are going to be great for that. Or if you happen to come across a book you really didn't like and you did DNF, but you just want to know how it ended, recaps will be great for that too. So those are going to be on our YouTube.
Awesome. We hope to see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.